Welcome to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection, the City of Crawfordsville's weekly podcast that comes out every Monday morning. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and I'm joined in the studio every week with Mayor Todd Barton to keep our community up to date on current events, city workings, and to hear from community members on a variety of topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome back to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Summer. And today I'm joined in the studio by Mayor Todd Barton.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Good to be here.
Good. And with us today, we have a special guest.
We do. This is awesome.
Yes, we have Tim Cotter with us from MX Sports. Hello, Tim.
Hello. It's an honor to be here.
Yes, we're super glad you're here. We were able to steal some of your time. You know, you're a busy guy.
Crawfordsville is my home away from home.
We love it. We love it. Well, we're going to talk about Motocross of Nations 2025 today.
With the expert.
With the expert.
With the expert, not just us.
So Todd's the expert.
Yeah.
We wing it. Now we've got the expert here.
Yes. Well, we've been talking a little bit about this, since last October when we announced the race. But we'll dive in a little bit more today and just get a true understanding of what is Motocross of Nations, what does it mean for our community, and, hear all of that information from Tim, the expert. But before we get started, Mayor, do you have any announcements?
Just a reminder that city offices will be closed on May 26th for Memorial Day. We will do a double trash pickup on Tuesday, the 27th.
Awesome.
Yes. And if you are attending Memorial Day services, those have moved this year. It's a little different. Those will be at Veterans Memorial Park instead of Oak Hill North Cemetery. Yes.
Stay tuned to our social media. We'll make sure all that's
we'll
on
have
there.
all of it on there for you.
Awesome. Well, Tim, let's jump in. Tell us who you are, what's your role, what do you do with MX Sports, and how are you connected directly with the Motocross of Nations event?
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be here. I said that earlier, but I work for MX Sports, and MX Sports, it's a conglomerate of companies. We have Racer Productions and MX Sports and MX Sports Pro Racing and on and on and on. And we produce motorcycle and ATV races around America. About 45 races a year somewhere in the United States. This year, there are 5 or 6 here in Crawfordsville.
Awesome.
We do more races here than anywhere in America, and we're very excited for that. But our company is almost 50 years old. In fact, we are celebrating we are 50 years old. We're celebrating our 50th year of GNCC racing. And it all started back at the Blackwater 100, which is in the mountains of West Virginia. And we're very excited that we're embarking on a new project. I'm already going on a tangent here, Mayor. But
She'll keep you on track.
Surprise, right?
We've got a documentary being filmed this year that memorializes the first 50 years of off-road racing for our company. And it's quite the project that we're working on. And so you'll see film crews here. They were here last year for Ironman GNCC, and they'll be here this year for Ironman GNCC. So to celebrate that, that will be in theaters probably next fall. Not this fall, but next fall is when it will be in theaters, and we hope that it will be in a theater here in Crawfordsville.
Yes.
So that's real exciting. And to celebrate the 50 years of racing, Mayor's going to sign up for us because we're taking all of our class champions on a cruise.
Okay.
And in December, there's going to be about 400 of us get on a boat and sail the Caribbean in early December this year to celebrate GNCC racing. I say that because 50 years is a long time.
Right.
And I've had the very good fortune. This is my 49th year with the company. I started very young, very, very young. I wasn't even old enough to drive a car. In fact, the first vehicle I ever drove was the water truck at the old Brownsville City Park in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. But for us, we own Pro Motocross, meaning there's 11 races in Pro Motocross, and our company owns the series. So we're like NASCAR, but we also own some events like NASCAR. The France family owns the Daytona 500. We own the Ironman Raceway National. the High Point Motocross National, which is in Pennsylvania. That is our flagship racetrack. And then the Budds Creek National over in Maryland. And then the rest of the nationals are owned by other promoters and organizers, and we go in and oversee the event.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're very busy. This week, we are at the Hoosier GNCC, which is the Ironman backwards. We're out at Ironman Raceway, and we run a lot of the same racetrack, but we run it backwards.
Interesting.
And we don't run the Ironman Hill and some of the iconic things that make Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
So we're excited out there. We'll have a huge crowd here, be about not quite half an Ironman. And so we're excited for that. Last week, we had the ATV Nationals, where the top ATV racers in the world were here. Next week, we have the Loretta Lynn Regional, which are the older kids of the amateur racing league will be on hand, and they will be punching their tickets to Loretta Lynn's. We are 44 years in to the Loretta Lynn National Championship. And so they'll be the top athletes from the United States, although this is the Mideast region. We'll have kids from 30 or 40 states and several countries that will be participating next week to punch their ticket to Loretta's.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ironman will go dark until early August, where we will have the Pro Motocross National. It's usually in late August.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to move it up on the schedule this year to put some separation between it and the MXoN, because they're both motocross events. So we've got about a 2-month gap, not quite a 2-month gap between Pro Motocross and MXoN. And then we follow up MXoN with the Ironman GNCC in late October. And that sort of seals up the whole schedule. We've not raced the Ironman facility as much as we're racing it this year. It's just how the stars lined up.
Yeah.
And then when you drop Motocross of Nations in, that's the granddaddy of them all. 50 years of racing, we've got to be the largest off-road motorcycle racing organizer in America. I would think that makes us probably the largest in the world, and we've never done the MXoN, the Motocross of Nations.
Right.
So this is a bucket list thing for me selfishly. It's something that I've always wanted to be a part of and be the organizer of it. I've always been involved with it when it comes to America, but never really been the organizer of it. And our company is honored that the Infront group from Europe has selected us to do this event. So it's a massive event. It's got a lot of moving parts, as we are all learning together, the different moving parts, and it's a very historical event. We were able to get the trophy a couple of weeks ago. We were in New Jersey at the Meadowlands, which is right across the river from New York City. And so I called and asked if the trophy could come to America, and it lives in Switzerland. The trophy does. And they said, well, why do you want this trophy? And I said, well, I think people should see it. It stays in a case.
Right.
And I really wanted people to see it. It's the Stanley Cup of motorcycle racing. And when I got that trophy, for me, who I'm an enthusiast as well, and I opened that case, it was, the hair raised up on my arms. And when you pulled it out and you looked from 1946 was the first year, and it's inscribed on there of who won in 1946 all the way up to who won last year. So it's a very historic piece, and it's going to live here in Crawfordsville for some time. So those of you that are listening, you're going to have an opportunity to go see it. I hope you guys will be able to push that out on social media where that trophy will be.
Absolutely.
And it is a special piece. So the history of Motocross of Nation is rich. It's rich in the United States. DNA is all over it. We're woven into the fabric of it. And we've had a couple of really good runs where we were dominating the the series, although recently not so much. We've struggled to win it, and I don't think we've won it in the past several years. So the USA boys need to get their act together.
This hopefully is the year, right?
Yeah, I hope so. We're going to try to homer them,
Yes.
and get them here on their home soil, and so it's an amazing event, and we are very, very excited that it's coming to the United States, and we're ultra excited that it's coming to Crawfordsville, Indiana.
Mayor, do you agree with that? You're ultra excited.
Beyond that,
Yes.
actually, yeah, no, it is, and it's almost surreal if you think about the
Mhm.
magnitude of this event and what it means, and it's going to be right here in our backyard.
Yeah.
It's going to be an amazing opportunity for this community just to experience it.
Right.
The economic side is part of it aside. Just think about the opportunity to experience this. It's going to be unlike anything else.
Yeah. Tim, you mentioned, the United States hasn't had the opportunity to win in the past few years. That's why this event is different than any other event that you race. It's people racing for their country. They're not racing for a team or a brand. They are truly racing for their country.
But the advent of super motocross. So several years in the United States, there's a series called Supercross,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes to Indianapolis in Lucas Oil Stadium, and it's motocross in a microwave,
Mm-hmm.
much smaller footprint, but in terms of star power, it's the same racers, but the creature comforts of a stadium is a little different than going to Ironman Raceway.
Yeah.
And then when they're done racing Supercross, which was just last weekend in Utah, they get a week off, and then they start with us next weekend in California, and we race motocross.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much bigger racetrack. The races are longer, and each they race twice in motocross. So 3 or 4 years ago, as a result of COVID, we had to work very closely with the Supercross guys. And after that, we said, hey, that works pretty well when we work together. Good things happen.
Yeah.
And so we created Super Motocross,
Okay.
where you have 17 Supercross events, and you crown a champion. And then we start motocross. We have 11 motocross events, and we crown a champion. And then we have a playoff, 3 race playoff, and we crown the Super Motocross champion, and we write a check for $1 million to the winner. All total, it's a $10 million purse.
Wow.
And so now the athletes and the manufacturers and the sponsors, instead of having a 17 week event and then an 11-week event, they have 31 weeks
Mm-hmm.
of racing. And so NBC saw that and said, wow, now we have something.
Right.
Because we were on NBC and they were on NBC, but it was almost like a time buy.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have 31 events. NBC said, wow, there's a lot of value here. So that's how we're able to pick up that purse. And so now every racer in the world aspires to come to the United States
Mm-hmm.
because of the 31 rounds of racing. And so it's elevated everything. And when you look at our starting line, it's like a Motocross of Nations each week. The top racers in the world are racing with us,
Mm-hmm.
but they're racing for money.
Right.
And they're racing for championship points. And you're right. After the motocross season, each team in the world, there's about 36 teams, 36 countries are going to select 3 racers. And those guys got to leave their hat at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And they sit with the guy that they're usually trying to punch in the face all week
Right.
or all year. And now we got to be buddies and work together.
Right together.
And so there's a lot of, you gotta glue the pieces together. And so that's really a challenge: is how do you select a team that would work together?
Mm-hmm.
And now just let's race for our country.
Right.
And so it's a totally different atmosphere. It's a lot looser,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're racing for your country, but it's also an experience. The families are now involved, and it's more of a vacation for these families as they come in, and it's just a really unique atmosphere. But for the fan, it's for the fan, there's nothing better than to race for your country and to cheer for your country.
Right.
If you've ever been to a college bowl game and you're so excited because Purdue's in the bowl game and you're cheering, I'm a West Virginia guy, so those few times the Mountaineers get to go to a bowl game, we've all felt that enthusiasm. Well, that's what you feel when you go to a Motocross of Nations, because you're cheering for your team. You're cheering for those 3 guys to beat those 46 guys.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome.
That is awesome. So all of this to say, why Crawfordsville? Why Ironman Raceway? How did it land here?
Well, when we were given the contract to have the event, so this was more than a year ago. I'm going to guess sometime in May, we came to an agreement with the In-Front folks that the Motocross of Nations would come to America. And typically, when it's come to America before, the organizer would get the rights to it, and there was no question where it was going. It was going to their racetrack. Well, we're a little different because we sort of represent a lot of racetracks.
Right.
We do. Back up 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago, we decided that Ironman GNCC is so popular, why not have a motocross event here? We know, but as we look around the country, we know where racers live. We know where the hotbeds of off-road motorcycle racing is. And Crawfordsville lined up really well. So we started to build a motocross track here. And we built it with the thought in mind that we want a modern day motocross track. When our racetrack in Pennsylvania was built, the manufacturers, the teams, showed up in a box van. Your pit area didn't have to be anything special.
Right.
Now we have 35 semis. I can't park them on the side of a hill.
Right.
So the racetrack is secondary to the amenities around the racetrack. And so Crawfordsville lended itself to nice flat parking, but yet in that gully that used to be just a ravine is now a beautiful racetrack with tremendous elevation change. So we built this modern day racetrack, and we built it with the thought in mind of bringing a Motocross of Nations here. And even after we decided we're bringing it here, we had to go out and change the racetrack.
Right.
We've had to do substantial upgrades to the racetrack just so we can get the spectators in. Because this is if you've ever been to Ironman GNCC, we get about 12,000 people through the gate. We're looking to 30 to 35,000 people through the gate.
Right.
So you think of that. How do you look at that and say, okay, it's 3 times the size? I know on Facebook, you guys have posted some aerial photographs of our event when we're out there at Ironman, and it's astonishing on how far out through those cornfields and bean fields we're parking, and to think that we're going to triple that,
right,
is like, oh my gosh,
Did
sort of
you hear
scary.
that, Crawfordsville? Did you hear that, Crawfordsville?
right, yeah.
It's going to be big.
So we knew that we had a racetrack and a facility. The Shaver family are the best partners ever. I don't think they know the word no. If you say, hey, what if we did that? Boom. That family is on it, trying to do it. We're like, whoa. We didn't really say, let's do that. But what if? Let's think. But that's the energy that they have and the enthusiasm that they have. So everything is possible out there. And then you look at the community. And, I'll say this while Mayor Barton's in the room. We do not go to a community that embraces us like Crawfordsville does. In fact, some communities we go to don't want us there.
Right.
Not everybody wants a dirt bike track in their backyard. So the community involvement here, and to be quite honest, our home track, our flagship track, the track that really founded and is the foundation of our company, that is 30 minutes from our office. We really wanted it to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Now that racetrack is not as conducive as this racetrack, meaning the parking and the terrain. The ingress and egress, the road system in and out of our racetrack in Pennsylvania isn't great. It's doable, but it's not great. And to be quite honest, the national in Pennsylvania is much larger than the national at Ironman. And I think that's due because it's 49 years old and Ironman is 17 years old, right? Or whatever it is. So we said, well, let's just bring the folks from Europe over and let them meet the community. And Mayor Barton took that as a challenge and energized your team and really wowed the folks from Europe. And then we left here and went to Pennsylvania, and we did the same thing in Pennsylvania, and they just didn't have the act together like you guys have here. Full disclosure is the racetrack in Pennsylvania is literally on the West Virginia border. And so all of the economic development or all of the impact is in West Virginia.
Right.
Because Morgantown is there. That's where I live. And then the racetrack, you can throw a rock from the West Virginia line to the racetrack. And so Pennsylvania's, it's a little harder sell for them because their downtown doesn't get the economic impact.
Right.
So I get it on their part too. We're dealing across state lines, and you would think you're crossing the wall sometimes because the states don't really communicate and mesh together. So when we were done with that, there was no question where we were going. It was a very, very short conversation where this race was going to go.
That's awesome. Mayor, when you were first proposed the idea of literally doubling our county population for this event and bringing Motocross of Nations here, what were your thoughts?
How'd I respond, Tim? What'd I say?
Is this a competition?
Yep.
And my eyes probably lit up. Like, well, we love a competition, right? And we compete for projects all the time, and we've proven our ability to compete. We look at the growth that we're seeing with our industries, and every single time that happens, it's a competition. So we understand that process, and we know how to sell Crawfordsville. So, yeah, when I found out that that was a possibility, it was a competition, and you know there's a lot of work, but I know that this community's up to it. And I realize that this is an experience that we've never had, and it would be great for our community in terms of the experience and in terms of the economic impact.
Right.
So let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. And I don't like to lose. So let's make it happen. Yeah.
And I think you're a unique community in that geographically you can look at your big brother down in Indy and see what happens. There is not, maybe Vegas, but next to Vegas, maybe Orlando, Indianapolis hosts more sporting events and large events and concerts, Taylor Swift and all the things that happen in and around Indy, not to mention the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then I believe this is how I look at your community, that you're looking over that fence saying, I'd like to have some of that. And now's your opportunity that, so dirt bike racing lands in your community and becomes a hub in your community. Well, if that's what you got to hang your hat on, then let's hang it and run. And now you're going to have the biggest dirt bike race in the world. And that's, when we started this thing, we wanted to have the best national racetrack in the world. But we always had in mind that we're going to bring MXoN here. And it took us some years. And to be quite honest, we never asked to have Motocross of Nations until we felt we were ready.
Yeah.
And I, along with the leadership in our company, just didn't think we were ready for it. we understand it's a very challenging event to do. And so we wanted to wait until we were ready, and we feel we're ready. And I sleep well at night. I don't worry about Motocross of Nations. I worry about other events.
Mm-hmm.
That's what keeps me up. I'm not worried about Motocross of Nations because of the support we're getting in this community.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The Indianapolis situation. I mean, that for me gives us the confidence that we can approach this. We can handle this, right? Because we do have the experts down the road who do this on a grand scale. And, we've been involved in that on the periphery. I've been involved in the periphery enough to know that they know what they're doing and they'll help us. And I've said this over and over, Indiana Sports Corporation has been fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they're doing and they've helped us. And Indianapolis Motor Speedway and Doug Bowles, I mean, they're right there beside us to help us anything we need. And that gives you the confidence that we can handle this.
Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about, the community impact, economic impact. Do you want to talk about what our community can expect and what that economic impact might look like for, the weekend, the week leading up to? What can people expect?
Well, the economic impact studies that come, the Infront folks do these very slick economic impact studies, and they have big numbers. I don't remember what they were, but they're tens of millions of dollars.
It was in excess of $20 million for the region.
Right.
Yeah. That come into the community. And I have no doubt that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt, and I have always felt this way, that I could have a race out at Ironman and the impact to the community would be traffic and mud and the negative things
mm-hmm.
that impact a community when you have a large event. And so it's not fair for an organizer like me or our company to put an event out there and not try to figure out how to get the community involved.
Right.
And so I've been very adamant and that we need to make it allow the community to be involved in the event in an economical way
mm-hmm.
and be able to prosper from these people that are coming. And one of the things I said is, if we have that race out there and all I do is impact traffic, then what have I done?
Right.
All I've done is impact traffic, and that's not going to be good. I've got to figure out how to get those 30,000 people to downtown Crawfordsville.
Right.
They're going to Walmart. They're going to Kroger's. I can't believe it. We have an Aldi's that's going to open up. I'm like,
just a few
in
short
days. In days.
Yeah. I shouldn't say this in public, but I follow them on Facebook.
And you saw that pop up?
No, I drove by, I saw it, but literally at home, my wife and I go to Aldi's. There's an aisle there. We call it the aisle of shame.
Oh yeah.
And
there's a whole Facebook page about it.
Yeah.
I did not see. I'm learning something new here.
It's all the home goods type of things, and it's the non-grocery items.
Okay. The stuff you really don't need.
Okay.
But it catches you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm part of that aisle of shame. So really excited that you got an Aldi's coming. But the campers are going to find their way there because they're going to be hungry. But how do we get them downtown to see the charm of Crawfordsville?
Right.
How do I get it to the chocolatier?
Yes.
How do I get it to where did you and I have lunch the other day?
The tablespoon.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was chicken salad in a Tupperware container, but I was sort of skeptical.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic.
It is.
And the other place that we have lunch, which is right around the corner from the Fusion Center, has been very good. And Francis and Mount you've got such a great community, notwithstanding Little Mexico.
Right. I was going to say you can't not mention Little Mexico.
Yeah, and I think that I've been able to eat in most of the restaurants that you have here in downtown, and my boss Rita Coombs, the founder of our company, she stopped me yesterday and she goes, "Hey, I went to one of those junk stores downtown, Whimsical something."
Oh yeah, I think it's Whimsy.
Yeah.
It's
Whimsy.
Yeah.
And she knew all about this lady because she had an antique store somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she took my picture and asked if she could put it on Facebook. and I'm going to be on Facebook. That's what Rita says. So last night I told our social media people, I said, listen, you go find that and share it so we can boost Whimsy's Facebook page.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But it's the charm that you have and the eclectic different stores and the furniture store that you have downtown. And, I just think it's a special place. Mm-hmm. And maybe if I drove to other communities around the world and around the United States and spent the time that I've spent here, I would find the same thing. Yeah. I don't do that.
No, you wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
But this is an awesome community. And I think that, 60% of the people that are coming to the event, I believe, are coming from somewhere other than the United States.
That's awesome.
And I think when they walk through downtown Crawfordsville, they're going to say, wow, this is what America is. Mm-hmm. And it is.
Right? Yeah. And I think for us, when we went to Winchester, right? I mean, the downtown in Winchester was amazing, right? I mean, it was a really neat experience. I think the difference was they didn't roll out the red carpet for us. They didn't even know we were going to be there. Right. Where here, hopefully they are wowed, and also we roll out the red carpet and welcome them and, assist them while they're here, make them feel at home. It's going to be a great experience.
Yeah, we can't not, in a town like Winchester, it's much larger. They're used to the tourism. They're used to people being there all the time. We're literally doubling the county population. I mean, it is going to make an impact on our community, whether or not we embrace it. And so, Tim, like you said, we have to be ready. And that's a lot of the work that we've been doing is, with our planning process, we can't not plan for this. We can't not get the word out there. Mayor, do you want to talk a little bit about our local organizing committee that's helping move these things along in conjunction with what MX Sports is doing?
Yeah, so we've kind of divided that up into different sections, if you will. But, one of the pieces, the most important piece for me probably is, that community side and how are we prepared as a community? And so we have local experts, if you will, who are involved on different, pieces of that committee that are working on their part of it. Somebody's looking specifically at housing. We have the public safety and the law enforcement looking at traffic. We have people working on the food side of it, the parade, on all the events and the photo op. I mean, everything is just coming together. And that is an adaptation of the structure that they use in Indianapolis, Indiana Sports Corp. When they plan a Super Bowl or a Final Four, they use that same structure. And we just adapted it to our size and our situation. But there's literally a sub piece of that working on every single aspect. Mm-hmm. There's nothing, I hope, that we haven't thought of.
Right.
And then we all come together every month and each person or each group reports on what they're doing so that everybody else knows and can maybe pick up on something they might miss.
Yeah. Like you said, Tim and his team, they're the experts on making the race happen. We are the experts on making our community happen.
There's two big pieces. There's what's happening at the venue, which is, very different. And then there's what happens in the community at the same time. And we have to think about, simple things. I guess not simple, but, can we still provide police, fire protection, emergency medical in the community?
Right.
Emergencies are still going to happen, right? How do we get from point A to point B and all those things while we double our population? So not just thinking in terms of what happens at the venue, what happens in the community. So you have to look at the big picture and all those different things.
Yeah, we've had meetings talking to restaurants and businesses. Hey, make sure your inventory is stocked.
Yeah, we want them to be prepared. And there's an app coming out, so everybody can communicate. And one of the things we had noticed in Winchester was that the restaurants didn't really know what was going on. Mm-hmm. So we don't want our restaurants to be in that situation, and our retailers and everybody else.
Right. Tim, you said you sleep well, for Motocross of Nations. And how is this planning process for you, especially because you mentioned this is not your only event. For us, this is our biggest, largest event. So we can focus a lot of efforts on this. But for you, this is just one piece of your puzzle and everything else that's going on.
Well, it is the largest piece of my puzzle. But right now, because of the support we have here in the community, and the enthusiasm we have within our company, people are excited to work on it. Motocross of Nations is really the least of my worries right now. Mm-hmm. I'm here with you today. We have an off-road race this weekend. Gates are open. Monday morning at 5:30 a.m., I'm off to San Diego, where we'll do a pro motocross race in Temecula, California at the Pala Casino. The very next week, we're in Sacramento. The next week, we're in Denver. The next week, we're at my track in Pennsylvania. Then I go to Snowshoe for an off-road race, and then to Michigan for motocross, and it's every week. I think I have a weekend off in July, and then I don't have another weekend off probably until the weekend after MXoN. We have to go race in Ohio, but I'm not going. I'm going to a family wedding, so there's not much time off. And once we get into where we are now, the gauntlet, it's week after week after week after week. But right now, Motocross of Nations is not an issue for me. I'm very comfortable where we are in our planning process. The Indiana Sports Corp mayor mentioned it financially. I don't know that we could do this without their financial help.
Right.
People are going to say, okay, you're having this parade, which we really haven't talked about. I'm super excited. If you were in the motocross industry, you're supposed to say super stoked.
Oh, yes.
But
Super stoked.
I'm super excited to have this parade downtown. And I felt that we've got to get people downtown. So now we have a parade. And so some of your listeners are going to say, well, where are they going to park? You can't park that many people downtown. The Indiana Sports Corp has provided us funding that we have 10 tour buses that are going to be making loops from the venue into downtown. I believe we're going to drop them off near your park.
Yeah, Pike Place.
Pike Place, which is next to the library. And so, when you think about that, 54 people a bus, there's 540 in one round.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 in 2 rounds, and in 5 rounds, there's 2,500. So if we can pump 2,500 or 3,000 or 4,000 people into your downtown area, and then have this parade, and the parade is each team gets introduced, and there's 36 teams we think that could go up or down. We're going to put them in the back of a York Ram pickup truck, and we're going to drive them around your parade route. I think it's the same parade route you use for
the Christmas parade.
We're sprinkling in a couple of local bands. We're working on the bagpipers. Mayor Barton, I hope you will be in the parade.
That's the plan.
That is the plan.
Are you riding a motorbike?
I will not be riding a motorcycle, though.
And the board of directors of the FIM is coming. What does that mean? That's 24 people from 24 different countries that are influencers within their countries are coming here for their annual board meetings. So they'll be in the parade. Jeff Ward is our grand marshal. Jeff Ward won more Motocross of Nations than any American. And when he retired, he got in an Indy car and finished second in the Indianapolis 500. Wow. So he's going to be here. And many of the motorcycle icons from the United States will be here and in that parade. So that's going to be an exciting time. They don't do that at any other Motocross of Nations. No. Everything is at the venue. And we felt that if we don't bring them downtown, we will have failed as a committee. And so that's our plan. We hope that your community will come downtown and celebrate. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And just celebrate the event.
And I know I've said this over and over, but this is not like the Christmas parade.
No.
This is not a passive crowd. I mean, this is a pep rally of sorts. This is national pride. People are really wound up for this parade.
Yeah, cheering for their country.
Oh, when their country comes through, they're going to
noisemakers.
They're going to go crazy.
When the Leprechauns, the Irish team comes through, you'll remember these grown men that are probably accountants and attorneys and life insurance salesmen somewhere in Ireland. But when they come to an MXoN, they dress up like leprechauns, and they might partake in the lager.
And just maybe.
And they'll jump out and do somersaults just like the Lucky Charms guy.
I love it.
And it's so much fun. And then you'll turn around and you'll see the Queen's Guard all dressed up and they're cheering on their team, and it's just colorful. it's a culture shock
Yeah.
for Crawfordsville. Just beware.
Yeah. I've said over and over, this will be unlike anything we've experienced in our
Yeah.
downtown before, and in a good way.
Yeah. In the
Yeah.
best way.
And I hope, I mean, we've had conversations with the schools, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think your students are going to be able to attend that afternoon. I think that's all
Right.
going to work out because they have to time buses, and so it looks like they're going to work around all that. Bring your children down and come to this. It's going to be an amazing experience that
Right.
you're not going to see it every day in
Literally
Crawfordsville.
bringing the world to Crawfordsville.
We are bringing the world to Crawfordsville. And I think another point that I was thinking about when Tim was talking was, we talk about the impact of this. And one of the things we notice right now, just from the current races, and it's certainly be the case with MXoN, you don't know who's coming to Crawfordsville as part of this, right?
Right.
Many of these people are influencers. They're important business people and leaders, and they come to Crawfordsville and they see something they like. It has an impact. So we know every time there's a race here, there's top CEOs from all kinds of companies and everything else coming to our community and getting a look at us.
Yeah.
And that exposure is really invaluable.
Yeah. Mayor, you talked about, working with the schools to get students involved and, getting our community down to the parade. But something else that, with FIM and MX Sports, we have the opportunity to offer our community 50% discount tickets for general admission on Sunday. What does that mean for our community?
That's huge. And I want to thank Tim for making that possible, but Montgomery County residents will have the opportunity, a certain number of tickets that they'll be at half price. And I mean, Tim probably wants to speak to it, but that is huge to be able to offer that to our community.
Yeah.
Well, again, our company felt that this is an expensive ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've never charged anything close to this. In fact, it's double, more than double of what we would typically charge for a ticket. But as our partner comes from Europe, that's what Motocross of Nations, you can imagine, they're building structures. You're going to go out there and see buildings several stories high that were put on a boat and shipped here.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of expense in that. And I'm not trying to justify the ticket price. But what I am saying is that it's not, for me, I didn't feel comfortable having this big event and then the local community can't afford to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I lobbied to our partners in Europe at Infront to give us an allotment of tickets that we can sell to community people that live here for a 50% discount. And they didn't even bat an eye. They said, absolutely no problem. So you guys have to figure out how to distribute those tickets. But there is an economical opportunity for community members to come and see this event.
And we're working through that now. So just stay tuned. We'll push that out when we have that laid out, how you can access those and do that.
We've got we're hoping to do some tabling at the farmers markets at least once a month. And we'll have kind of a, contact information collection there where we'll have a form where people can say, I'm interested in this, and we'll get your contact information. And then once we're ready to roll those tickets out, we'll have contact information and can push everything out to those individuals. Okay, well, I've got to know before we wrap up here, Tim and Mayor, what would you say you are most excited for regarding Motocross of Nations?
Wow.
So it's like all of it. There's so much.
There is so much. So for a guy who produces events, there's a couple of milestones that happen. When the gates open, my blood pressure goes down a couple of points.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. When the first gate drops, my blood pressure goes way down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited for the parade.
Yeah.
The parade was my pet project.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things that I really wanted to see happen. And I'm almost a little giddy that it's going to happen. Today, we're going to do a walkthrough with our TV production company because the parade's going to be televised or live streamed. So we're excited for that. When the checkered flag comes out and the sun comes up on Monday morning, I hope that when people pulled out onto 47 and back down into the community of Crawfordsville and start heading home, wherever that home may be, if they said to themselves, oh my golly,
Mm-hmm.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I look for. I'm not a racer. Never
Yeah.
raced a motorcycle in my life. I love the adrenaline. It is exciting, but I'm not that guy. My competition, like the mayor said, mayor likes competition. My competition is producing an event that is just amazing. And I believe we're going to do that.
That's awesome.
So that milestone for me, there's just several of them along the way that once it happens, you get a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that moment right before the race is really big. I mean, as a spectator / participant, not riding, but there. But the parade probably is at the top of the list. I mean, to bring all that to our downtown is going to be amazing. So really looking forward to that. I think another thing I was going to add real quick, we were talking about the schools. We've had conversations with the schools, and one thing we're going to try to do, we haven't worked it out yet, but you can imagine like if a classroom was assigned a country,
right,
and they could do research on that country, and then we'll actually have the members of the team from that country interact with them,
Yes.
maybe even come to their classroom or something. I don't know if we can work it out, but can you imagine you're studying whatever country, and then you get the team from that country come and talk to you about living there and what it's like and all that? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we want to make this educational as well. But
absolutely.
yeah, overall, I think the parade, and there's certain angst there too, right? I mean, there's a lot of logistics that have to work out that day, and some things we can't control,
right?
Weather, trains, some of those things. So yeah.
Yes. Well, as we wrap up here, I just want to, I think we've mentioned this before, but teasing some episodes that are to come. We're still working out a little bit of the technical side of getting some, call in guests.
Yeah.
So yeah, having some folks call in and join us, remote via Zoom and trying to figure out some of the technical piece. But Tim, do you want to talk about some of the people that we might be able to get as guests on our podcast?
Yeah, and no pressure, Sarah.
Okay.
But you better get that technology figured out.
Okay.
Because the winners of the 2024 MXoN are the Lawrence brothers. They're hurt. They've been hurt through most of the Supercross, but they're coming back next week. They're Australian. And it was the first time Australia won MXoN. So they've agreed to come on. They're just waiting on your cue to schedule them.
That's my note.
No pressure.
You'll have them on. I think Aaron Plessinger will be on as well. He was a member of Team USA for a couple of times. And Roger DeCoster, who is the iconic Team USA manager, and they call him the man in the sport. He was a Belgium racer, came to America and has never left. Most successful team manager in the history of motorcycle racing. So he will be on. I believe Rob Dingman has expressed an interest. Rob Dingman is the president of the AMA. Mike Pelletier, who heads up Team USA for the AMA. And the list can go on. And then once we decide who's going to be on the team, and that'll happen early August, maybe middle August, when they decide who the team members are, then we'll try to get those team members on as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So this is kind of the kickoff to our in-depth dive. And we still have our other stuff sprinkled in there too. But I think, the guests that Tim's talking about, we went to the Supercross in Indy at Lucas Oil Stadium, and we went and talked to all these people.
Right.
And these are people, like, when we got in to talk to them, there's a line. I mean, a huge line outside of people just, waiting for them to appear and sign autographs and all that kind of stuff. So,
and you'll have Jeff Ward as well.
Yeah. These are big names.
Yeah. Pretty incredible. So I will work on the technology side, get some things figured out, and we'll coordinate all of that. And we'll do some, once we have some of these scheduled, we can do a social media post highlighting so people know when to tune in and listen. So big stuff coming. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. Yep.
Awesome things coming. I'm super excited for this event. Working
Stoked. You're stoked.
I'm super stoked. Working on the local organizing committee side of things and just seeing everything come together. I think Crawfordsville will look very different come October. We're going to turn this into Motoville.
Yep.
We'll be Motoville.
We will.
There'll be lots of flags everywhere.
Yes.
And a racetrack, if you go out to Ironman on any Wednesday afternoon and look at the racetrack, I call it when it's naked.
Mm-hmm.
She's not very pretty. The racetrack is not a pretty piece of ground, but on race day when she's all dolled up and we've got the banners around it and she got her hair combed and her lipstick on, there's not a prettier sight than a racetrack just before that gate drops.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
We're working on flyovers. You guys may see a large jet flying around here. They may be doing some test runs. So Holly Shaver has been working really, really hard. I believe I talked to the pilot just the other day, but it looks like we're going to get a C-17 flyover. And he said, do you want me to go fast and bank it? Or do you want me to go slow and low? And I said, I want slow and low. And he said, good. And then we'll open up the back door and we'll have a soldier hanging out the back with the flag on.
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
Yeah, if you don't know what a
Okay.
C-17 is, Google it. That coming low altitude over Crawfordsville, everybody's going to know that that's happening.
Yeah.
That is a very, very large plane.
Yeah. 4 engines.
Wow.
It's a big cargo plane.
That's how they haul tanks and
Yeah.
all that massive stuff around the world.
Yeah. So it looks like we're going to get something like that. We're very excited. We've got a national anthem singer who was from Crawfordsville, was on American Idol. His name doesn't come to the top of my mind right now, but we've got him secured.
Luke Menard.
That's it. Luke Menard is going to
Yeah.
sing our national anthem. So we're
That's
very
incredible.
excited about that. Chip Ganassi has told us that he's going to send an Indy car and have on display. When people are coming from Europe, what do they think about Indiana? Well, first thing has to be Indianapolis Motor Speedway because they're gearheads, right?
Right.
Or the birthplace of basketball.
Yes.
And so the Final Four is coming to Indy, and it's my understanding that they're bringing a promotional bus. The Final Four bus will be at the event as well. And so when people come from somewhere other than here, even if it's domestic or international, when they walk in the door, they're going to see what Indiana is all about. And that's to me is very exciting. I'm very, very excited to show people what Crawfordsville is.
Absolutely. Mayor, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think the other thing I would add is, we talk about Crawfordsville and everything we're doing here. We do have a lot of support, not only from Indianapolis, but our surrounding communities. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're all going to be impacted by this, and they're all in.
Yeah.
So, we talk about that impact. It reaches to our neighboring counties without a doubt. So
Absolutely.
appreciate all their help and support on this too.
Awesome. Tim, anything else?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to go racing.
Yes.
Come out and see us. We're hosting some of the Chamber of Commerce folks tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We've produced a bunch of tickets that people in the community can come and see what we're doing over these 3 weeks and just see the venue. It's amazing how many people in Crawfordsville don't even know it's there.
Right.
As I talk to people in the community, I didn't know that, and so.
And I've always said, like, if you go out there, especially I've noticed it during the Nationals, it doesn't feel like you're in Crawfordsville. It's almost surreal that this
Yeah.
is in Crawfordsville. I mean,
Right.
this is a very large venue and large event. If you spent time at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it kind of has that feel.
Mhm.
So it's very different. So go
Yes.
check it out.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being here. I know you're a busy guy and we were able to capture some of your time and we really appreciate it. Using this as a kickoff to deep dive into Motocross of Nations and what's to come.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, as always, Thank you for listening, and check out Yodel, our community calendar, to see everything that's happening in our community in one easy and convenient location. If you have any topics or things you'd like to hear about, reach out and let us know. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook at City of Crawfordsville Official, on Twitter at City of Seaville, and on Instagram at City of Crawfordsville. We hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait for you to join us next week.